And welcome back to Survivor Girl Podcast. Happy Survivor Girl Sunday. Thank you guys for tuning in and joining me. I'm going to go over a couple things, but first I'm going to start with the disclaimer. I am not a therapist, neither is my guest. We are not here to help treat, prescribe, or to do anything that is medically involved. We are only able to help to uplift, inspire, and hopefully help with whatever it is that you're going through. We're thankful again that you're here to join us. I'm going to do a little bit of a recap for the past couple of weeks because it's been a little bit crazy and I haven't been on, and then I will get into our guest. So pretty much this past couple of weeks we took a little bit of a break, a little bit of a vacation, if you will. And I have been busy kind of working on self care and just trying to figure out where it is with moving forward and all the stuff that I've got going on. And I know we've talked a bit about the self care and authentic self and all of that stuff. So that's been kind of exciting to put those things into place and practice while going through it myself. This week has been kind of crazy, got the hair done and all that fun stuff, trying to take care of myself and have better self mental awareness as well. So we are going to continue moving forward with more episodes. And like I said, I'm excited. I have a guest here today with me, and we are going to keep on booking guests. But I am excited to invite Roxanne back to the podcast.
Hi, Heather. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm happy to see you. I know it's been a minute since you've been on. I have 2 episodes. Now, this is the third one with you?
I think so.
Yeah, the third one. So you guys can watch those. Those are archived on the YouTube channel. Very excited to catch up with you and see how I miss you too. See how you've been
All this
doing.
quarantine, right?
Oh yeah, that's been a too long
Agreed.
of a quarantine. So how have you been doing through everything that's been going on? Let's catch up a little
Sure,
bit.
let's catch up a little bit. Not too bad. I'm mobile today.
Good.
I've had a pensioner for the last few months. So as you and I have talked before, I was going to come and visit or what have you, and I was just having a really hard time. But much better.
That's good.
Much better. Yeah, I'm definitely done with quarantine.
I
I'm
think we
ready to
all
be
are.
back to some sort of a normal routine.
Mhm.
It's definitely been a life changer. It's strange, but working on a book.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm excited to hear that.
working on like five at one time. Have to take it and slow down. Actually, first person I've told that to.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, first
Awesome.
person I've told that to. I've been jotting down my ideas and some outline and things like that, but I'm really excited about it.
That's
So
very cool.
yeah, you heard it here first.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you are here to join me and that we can catch up and talk about this kind of stuff with you having the time here. So you started to get different ideas of things that you want to work on with the book. 5 books or just one?
No, I was just teasing. No,
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
it
I've done
literally-
that, so
yeah,
that's why I'm
well,
asking.
I do have a lot I want to say, and as you know, if you know me, you know I'm very quiet and shy, and I don't have a lot to say. So, no, but I needed to just focus and put my ideas down on paper and decide what was most important. Maybe not important, but what was ready to flow right now. So I do a lot of free writing.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so I'll just write, and whatever comes out, I let it just be what it is. But I also like some poetry, short stories, things of that nature.
Very
So
cool.
maybe later on down the line, but I would like to focus on a book that is what it's like to be a survivor as an adult, not necessarily what the trauma was like as a child.
Oh, wow.
How
So
it affects you later.
completely bringing it into a different direction and focusing on pretty much like the thriving part of it then.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's incredible. So that's something that we can discuss here today as well.
Absolutely.
As survivors, I know that you and I have gone through different traumas. We
Right.
both experienced the PTSD, and I think you had said yours was a different.
Mine's just a character, categorized as a complex PTSD.
Okay.
So not much different than what regular PTSD is. There's just a few other, things that go along with it. I think that it's a little bit more of the hyper awareness.
Okay. So it's
Startle
kind
piece.
of so you have more of an idea of what or like how you said categorized.
I think it's the complex portion is just categorized slightly different than the regular PTSD. I think that, and I don't really know. I'm not a doctor,
Right. Right.
so I don't know the difference. It's just what I have worked with through therapy and just reading on my own
Yeah.
what I've learned. So it's been interesting. And now that I think of it, even before I was diagnosed with PTSD years ago, I can see how long I've actually had it. I
Oh,
can
wow.
see the triggers, the things that have happened. The like I said, hyper awareness. I know that is a huge issue. Very easily startled.
Mm-hmm.
Very easily startled. Even I mean, by simple, silly things. But it's just being aware, that heightened awareness
Mm-hmm.
of what's going on in your environment, and that comes from surviving. Absolutely.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely.
For sure. I completely understand that because you change and it's like you rearrange things after you go through traumas, and I know everybody is different like you'd mentioned. You do learn to adjust and to thrive and to, like you said, the hyper awareness. I find myself doing things like that. You had mentioned earlier before we started the show
Right.
of what people are wearing and stuff like that.
Where's the exits? Who's
Hmm.
coming in and out of each entrance? I think that it depends individually on each individual what type of experience they had that caused or what is triggering the PTSD to begin with.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. Because like part of what I have is I'll have body trauma memories.
Okay.
So you'll have a lot of people with post-traumatic stress disorder will have nightmares
Oh, wow.
about whatever it is that caused it, whatever that trauma is. And for a survivor of sexual abuse, especially as a child, you can and I have experienced body trauma memories, and
Oh,
it's
wow.
very realistic. It's almost like you're right back into that particular experience, and you wake up feeling like you just experienced it all over again.
Oh, that is
So
nice.
to learn how to kind of compartmentalize that, put it to the side, and realize that that's not happening right now,
Mhm.
it can be a challenge. It can be a challenge, but I've learned how to do it through therapy, and I've experienced it enough. And you talked about self care.
Mhm.
Huge, huge. You couldn't have talked about something more. Right on, hit the head on the or hit the nail on the head because if I didn't self care,
Mhm.
I wouldn't have gotten this far.
And it is. It's a lot of people don't understand or realize exactly what self care means to them, what it is that they have to do for themselves. And I was reading this thing where it was like a checklist of different things. It was like 6 categories, I think. And it was funny because I think there was only one thing out of these categories that I didn't check off every single thing in that list
Wow.
that I do on a daily.
Okay.
And to be able to establish something like that, even as in a relationship, and I've talked about that with Adam, all of ours, I'm very vocal about our relationship, but to be able to still do all of these things for self-care is very important. So that's something to also remember if you are in a relationship, to take care of yourself no matter what helps to take care of the relationship that you're in as well. So
Right, it's like being on a plane. You have to put the oxygen mask on first before you
yep.
can help someone else. Can't pour from an empty cup. Let's just go on with every other saying that you can say.
Right.
But seriously, it's really important that you are able to stop and realize that you do need to take care of yourself. You cannot help others, and I know that you're a lot like I am, or we're very similar sisters here
Yeah.
because we like to help people.
Yep.
Very giving, very generous. And I'll help people till it's literally I'm at a fault. I can't help anymore. But then I have to take a break and say, wait a minute, what about me?
Yeah.
You know?
And that's a hard thing, especially when you are a giver. You want to help out as much as you can. And Tony's not switching over to me. Calling you out. Calling you out, not doing
Sorry,
your job.
the
Um,
Twitch chat crashed. I had
oh.
to reload it.
You're fine. You're fine. But it's important though to not give all of yourself to be able to, obviously, like you said, keep your cup full, the airplane thing, all that stuff that you can keep on going on about. But it's come to a point now where I'm like, I know if I don't relax and calm down and take care of that stuff first thing in the morning, I'm not good to anybody else. And when does it become that or point before it becomes a problem where you can't do that? You can't help because you've given so
Right.
much, and that's important. I challenge everybody who listens to Survivor Girl to find a healthy balance for yourself, whether it's morning routine, a daily routine, once a week kind of thing. There's a whole list of stuff. And I started writing it down a long time ago to be able to check these things off because I'm a list girl. And that helps me to make sure that I'm taking care of myself and doing the things that I need to. So I don't know what kind of routine that you have down, but it's very important.
Well, I find the very useful for meditation. That is one. I'm quite the extrovert, so I draw my energy from people.
Mm-hmm.
But I also really enjoy my alone time. So when I have that time, I'm going to go ahead and use it to. Music is my life. I can't sing out of my way out of a paper bag, but I'll sing all over the house. It makes me feel better,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like music, the lyrics, they either enhance what I'm feeling or they take me to a place where I couldn't get there on my own, and it's always much more positive.
Mm-hmm.
So I use music, I use meditation, um, I read, and I do a lot of praying.
Yeah.
It's just maybe that's just me talking to a higher power. Either way, I was taught before you pray to anything, pray
Yeah.
to a paper cup. If you believe in it, and you say it out loud. But I also believe in manifestation, so I
Mm-hmm.
say a lot of things that I expect and want from the universe.
Yeah.
And I've learned that the more positive I am, and the only way I can get that way is through the self care
Yeah.
and being around other folks who are like that. That's the only way that I've gotten as far as I have, and I think that it just keeps. It's like it rubs off.
It really
does.
does.
It
It
rubs
does. And before we had started the podcast, I noticed that Jen Sincero's "You're a Badass" audiobook is back up on YouTube. And that's kind of one of the things where I started to be able to um, learn more about the positivity and the manifestation stuff and all of that, because who hasn't gone through a bout in their life where negative thoughts come in and you don't know how to usher them out to stay positive. That was something that really, that book helped me to learn different ways. And as I continue to read and research and learn things about self-care and authentic self and all that, it helps to continue to move forward and heal. And healing is something that is so very hard when you've gone through traumas, any kind of a trauma, or just in your daily life with the things that we face. It may be totally different from what you gone through or somebody else out there that's listening has gone through, but it's still part of learning how to heal and to thrive and to get through whatever it is that you're facing. And, doing the research, doing the meditation, it's all different for everybody. But for us, meditation is something that I enjoy myself. I used to laugh at my mom when I was a teenager because she'd have these elevator music CDs
Sure.
that I would call. Now I listen to them daily while I'm writing.
Right.
And I'm like,
That's
what
another
is
form of
this?
self care.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Because you're writing, you're putting down your thoughts and your feelings, and it also helps you to get put into action as well,
Yeah.
in my opinion. That's just me, but it really makes a huge difference in how I feel if I'm not interested in expressing it verbally, which that's not me. I don't talk much. But I certainly feel like I can express myself through writing. The singing, I mean, I know you're an amazing singer.
Oh, thank you.
No, I know you're an amazing singer. So
Thank you.
I wouldn't sing next to you if I had to. No, I'm teasing. I would. But for me, it makes sense. And if people don't understand meditation, I didn't at first, and I was not interested in it. I had to learn how to do it because I couldn't calm my mind enough. I couldn't, and that really speaks to the fact that my soul was not calm. My soul wasn't at peace. I wasn't at peace, and it took years for me to get to that place. Once I have gotten there, all I want to do is share it with people. All I want to do is make sure that other folks, I don't care what kind of trauma they've gone through, I don't care if it's just something simple or something very serious, I'm more than ecstatic to share what it is that I've learned for this healing and thriving. I think that being able to tell your story, no matter what it is, and to be able to get through it, or to tell it in a way where you're not getting through it, is a sign of healing, and it takes a long time to get there. You have to learn to be patient with yourself.
That is a very good point that you make about being patient with yourself. I know at times, like, I'm running 50 million miles a minute, And when I have to take a day where I have to kind of just chill and relax, it's tough.
hard.
It's tough.
You feel
And then
like
you
you're
start
not putting
kind of
it all out there.
yeah, and then you start getting at yourself going, I should be doing this.
You
Okay,
don't feel
no,
productive enough.
but that is production because
It
your
is.
soul needs that. And there's other
Get
forms of
weary.
that. There's other forms of that healing. For instance, I just did a photo shoot with somebody who did a trash the dress thing.
Yeah. Sure.
It's been over a year since the divorce had happened, and we did this photo shoot, and it was such a beautiful experience. Even if it is trashing this dress, at the end we hugged and held on to each other, and she was like, "Thank you," and I felt that, like I felt that breath of, that calm.
Well, you're very empathic.
Yeah,
You are.
and that right there was just an awesome experience. And there's, like you said, meditation. There's so many different
Maybe
things.
go and take a hot bath.
Oh, I do
mean,
that
so
constantly
I do
now.
that every day, but
Yeah.
mine more for the physical relief of pain. But it makes a huge difference in how you just need to learn how to just de-stress, and it's really not an easy thing to do, especially if you're someone who's always on the go.
Yep.
Or you are maybe a bit of a people pleaser.
Yeah.
That makes it a little hard. I wouldn't know that you do that.
Right.
I so much not a people pleaser, but definitely have a lot of energy and always want to get something accomplished. So I find it difficult. So we talked about me having this pinched nerve.
Mm-hmm.
So for the last 3 months, 2.5 months, I've been home. A lot of it I've been spending literally in bed, and that's really difficult for me because
I can't imagine.
I'm a people person for one, and for two, I have things I want to get done just like everybody else.
Right.
But it has taught me that I had to slow down, take care of Roxanne. It's okay. It's a period of time. It's just, it's temporary. This is not the way life is going to be. And I had to remember that I've been super healthy for the last few years with some of the other medical issues that I have, and I haven't had to deal with that. So in order for me to be like, wow, I can't believe I actually remembered, you got to slow down a little bit. You got to take care of things.
It's a hard lesson.
It is.
It's a
You
super
get
hard
excited
lesson.
to just go. So I think a lot of that is where the book idea came into. I've always wanted to do a book, was always back and forth about what type of book. I like fiction. I really, really enjoy true crime, things of that nature. But I thought to myself, something about the healing, the thriving, not necessarily specifically what I lived through, but what is it like now and how have I changed? What have I been able to do in order to overcome that? I mean, I told you before about the tattoo I have on my arm,
Mm-hmm.
and it says, I'm not what I have done, I'm what I have overcome. I believe that 110%, and it's like a motto, a mantra.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not what I have done. I'm definitely what I've overcome, and I have so much more to accomplish.
And I love that whole thing in there because there is a huge stigma about people can't change.
Oh, absolutely.
They say, that person's never going to change. That person can't change. That person can't overcome. And I see it every day that there are people that do change, that do overcome, that something that happened in their past is not who they are now. And it's incredible to see that transformation. It's incredible to see them thriving. Yes, there are times, obviously, that they go back. There's some things, not everybody, but there are times when you see people struggle and kind of start to backslide, but then you watch them uprise again. Yes, that can happen. But a lot of times I've been seeing more and more that people do change. People can change. So in order to help with that kind of a process, especially, with friends or family that you love, instead of going at the negative route, I think it's more healing when you're able to support in that way to help them to change.
Absolutely. And I also think that it just depends on the individual. What it is that they're trying to change. I had a lot of things that needed to be changed. And a lot of it came and stemmed from the trauma from being abused as a child.
Mm-hmm.
I was extremely defensive. I would make judgments about people within the first few seconds or moments of meeting them. Oh, I like this person. Oh, I never really gave them a chance.
Mm-hmm.
But then there was other times when I would go the opposite end of the spectrum. We talked about people pleasing.
Yeah.
I did that for years. I was so unhappy doing it. I don't do it anymore. I'm glad if somebody's about something that I've done, or that we can come to some sort of whatever it is together. But I'm certainly not going to go out of my way like I did before and sacrifice myself in order to make somebody else feel better. And that's also part of self care. You have to know when to end certain friendships, relationships. I don't care if they are family members or what it is. You have to know what your boundaries are. What are your limits? And if that's where it is, put your foot down. This is me. This is where I am. And maybe it'll change in the future, but if it doesn't, that's what will change those people. They'll realize that, oh, this person is so enthralled with whatever it is in their life that they don't have time for this, you know.
But I think on that thing, because I was thinking about this, that actual subject earlier, is for me, it's very hard to cut ties or to take the time to away from those kind of situations and those kinds of relationships and whatnot. But I was thinking about it, and through that kind of a situation, I have grown so much in things that I needed to. And in some cases, I was looking at it and I was thinking, man, at the time, I thought it was all like one sided. And then I got to thinking about it. And as I healed, I was like, okay, I'm seeing now what part I played in that.
Absolutely.
And I think sometimes we don't own up to that either, a lot of times. And when I got to thinking about it, I was like, wow, I have matured so much to this point now that I'm seeing it wasn't just one-sided. There was things that I had done as a person and I'm not proud of. And that's something that now it's bouncing back from it and going, okay, now I need to be
Absolutely.
vigilant and aware of where I'm at. So
And once you're aware, you cannot use that as an excuse anymore.
no,
You
not
have
at
to
all.
do something about it.
Yep, not at all.
Absolutely. I haven't been shy about. I've had issues with addiction. I've had issues with self-esteem, self-loathing, things of this nature. I'm not shy about any of it because I know that it's all part of where I was and where I'm going. But for many, many years, I grieved for the person who I thought I would be had that not happened to me. And guess what? That was such a waste of my energy because the person that I am is exactly who I'm supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly where I'm supposed to be at this moment in time. And I'm going to let my feet just settle right here and I'm going to feel it and this is me and I'm going to be here. It's just being in the moment where I couldn't live that way before. I was living in the past, always living in the past.
Yeah.
Or maybe in the future, like if I do this or if I do that, woulda, coulda, shoulda sort of thing. Life has tremendously changed, and for the better, absolutely. When you're healing and you get to a point where you yourself can say, okay, on a scale of whatever, I was really in a rough spot to, hey, I'm doing really well or I'm doing pretty good and I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
I can do this. I got this.
But and you're honest with yourself too now. Like as you grow
Absolutely.
and as you've come so far from where you were. Yes, that is a huge thing, and I'm glad that you brought that up about thinking about the past and thinking about where your life was meant to be, where it was going. So for me, in the situation when I went through cancer and all that stuff, that brought me to Survivor Girl and what I've been doing here, actually, I have improved my life in so many ways after that situation because of it made me grow in a different way. Like I feel like I was such a child still that I was so stuck in not believing in myself, not believing in anything else that I could do. And it was like all of that trauma made me go, okay, I need to get real about life. I need to. So I didn't really have a lot of goals before all that happened. I was perfectly okay just staying at the same job, doing the same thing over and over. And I really wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
So now it's like, oh, there's so many opportunities. There's so many things that I can do. So many people that I meet through doing stuff like this, and now with the jewelry and everything that I've been doing, and it's been incredible. And not
Which is
to
beautiful, by
not
the
to
way.
sidetrack here.
Which is
Oh, thank
beautiful
you.
jewelry, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, Tony went on a spree on Don't Make This Weird show and everything, which I appreciated that. Thank you. Thank you. But one of the things is, too, is it's kind of neat with the jewelry thing because when I'm at markets, I can also talk about Survivor Girl.
That makes sense.
And when I was at the most recent one in Vassar, there was a lady that first time ever coming to the market. She had got some coupons or whatever to get some produce, and she asked me. I wrote down for Dragonfly Boutique, and I had this on a Survivor Girl thing. So she asked me. She's like, "Well, what's Survivor Girl about?" So I started explaining my story and my mom's story, and she
is
started
amazing.
she started tearing up, and she said, "I wasn't expecting this kind of an experience today, but I'm glad that I'm here." So,
Nice.
and then after that, I met another survivor, and it was just like, wow.
And
So,
really, aren't we
yeah.
all survivors of something?
Of something,
I mean,
for
really,
sure.
of something. I don't, and I don't judge. Yours is worse than mine. Let's not play this
You
competition
can't
game.
do
But
that.
seriously, I mean, everybody's different, but we are all, fighting battles that we don't necessarily talk about. Maybe things that have happened. A lot of people, especially men. So I'm not trying to dog them in any ways, but a lot of men, they go through a lot of things that they don't bring up, they don't talk about. So us women, we are much more comfortable with certain subjects than they are, and I've had a lot of conversations with men. I've sent a few guys to your show for Survivor Girl who have also
Absolutely.
went through the similar situation as I did with being abused, sexually abused as a child, and those are really topics that they struggle with, and I don't blame them. It's very difficult in any situation, but to be, yeah,
What strength?
uh,
I mean, I
think
say,
it's horrible to be abused in any way,
yeah.
shape, or form, but I think that it's very, very difficult for a boy to be abused by a man and then to sexually and then to grow up into a man and not have some sort of wondering of their own sexuality, their orientation. Why did this make me feel this way? Your body betrays yourself. It's a biological and physiological reaction when someone does those certain things. And so you may think, oh, wow, I enjoyed it or something. Yeah, it's not like that at all. I mean, it's something that a lot of men don't have access to someone who can, give them that kind of information. And I find it interesting when I do meet a man who's willing to discuss that. I
Yeah.
will sit and talk to them, listen to their story. I think that it's really important that somebody does.
Yeah.
If they're comfortable with it or they're comfortable with me, I'm all ears. Why wouldn't I listen?
Oh, for sure. And they
Absolutely.
need that. And it's like I said before,
They have feelings too.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And that's one of the things I really like about the name is Survivor Girl Podcast, yes. But this podcast is for men and for women. It's
Absolutely.
not just for women. And we've had men on. One of the episodes that I felt so strongly about was actually with Travis.
Isn't he amazing?
He is
He
incredible.
is so wonderful. I adore Travis. Travis, if you're watching, hi, bud. It's been a long time since I've seen you.
He is awesome.
He's an amazing person, period. I mean, just all the way around. But then to hear his story and then his story of recovery is even just as amazing. The things he's overcome in his life through his childhood, his addiction, it's just a story of. It's beautiful.
It is.
Because now it's like, wow, see, Travis, look at how far you've come. What an inspiration. And
positive.
you could meet somebody who's absolutely,
Gosh.
he's got just, it
his Facebook.
exudes from him.
It's incredible.
He's
and
amazing.
And if you guys are just now tuning in, you're able to go back to on the YouTube channel for sure to look at archived episodes. There's how many now, Tony? 40. Put on the spot.
This is episode 46.
46
Wow, rocking
episodes
it
now.
out.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that is something that I never imagined.
Congratulations, you guys.
I never imagined. Thank you. And I'm.
Oh,
I'm
this is all
excited.
her insanity. I'm
Oh,
just sitting back here.
You never imagined, but when you told me about it, I thought to myself, this is going to be a huge success. This is something that you're so passionate about.
Absolutely.
How can it not be successful?
Thank you.
I've met so many wonderful people through you. So many wonderful people.
Vice
Hi,
versa
Nicole.
too, though. Yeah. Oh my
Is
gosh.
she a doll?
She is absolutely. Well, that brings me to that point of the Survivor, the Warrior video that we did too.
That was amazing.
That was such another form of being able to let that out.
Wasn't that cathartic?
Absolutely.
great.
I did not tell my
Was
story.
great.
I did not tell my story on there. but seeing all of you be so brave and to tell the story and to meet new people that have gone through something not necessarily the
None
same.
of us knew each other except for we all knew you.
Right.
So
That was
like
the one thing.
You know, yep. And Crystal was amazing. Her and her mom. I'm sorry, I don't remember her mom's name, but amazing.
I think it's different on Facebook, so it's not exactly
just
the
amazing.
same.
Her story was great, and just to sit there and be that vulnerable with a group of people that you don't know was amazing. Like I walked away from that feeling so cleansed.
It was such a like you said, it was that's like the best word to describe it. It was an amazing experience.
And the backdrop was pretty amazing too.
Yeah. It was beautiful out there too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stone Cottage Farms.
They were great.
Thank you, Crystal LaFay, for putting that together. And ever since then, she's gone through even more.
Yes.
So eventually, and she was my
She's
first guest on Survivor Girl, I believe.
Was she?
Yeah, either it was her or Jan. I can't remember. Sorry, ladies. It's been so many episodes now. But I have had Crystal LaFay on one of either my first or my second episode of Survivor Girl. And it was such a cool thing to talk with her. But now she's gone through so much more since then. And we are going to have her back on when she is able to talk about things.
Good.
So
Good.
it may be a little bit, but I do want to have her back on because she has even
She's
more.
So inspirational.
Yes, exactly. She has so many more things that she can talk to listeners about. And, just to see that we've talked personally about what you were saying about you having your mindset on what you're going to do with your life, what you're feeling is what you're going to do. And then something comes along and totally sidetracks you.
Yeah, she has an amazing story. Like that blew my mind. I won't ruin it for your fans here, but I mean, you got to tune in when Crystal's on. She's unlike anybody I've ever met, and I mean that in the most positive way.
Mm-hmm.
I was completely enamored by her. I mean, she just blew me away. Her story was like I couldn't believe it. I was really shocked, and her attitude. I mean, with her. Everything that she's gone through, everything that she has survived, thrived, been through, she's just, I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
And I
How
think
many people make it that far with as many things as she's gone through?
You know what? I hope a lot. I hope a lot of people that are able to overcome, but seeing the stuff. I mean, the episode that she was on, she was talking to me about the brain tumor.
Yes.
And how
I don't know how I forget that, but
she healed that through.
that was amazing.
And I've seen it. I've seen him. Then after
her
that,
doctor even was like, "What?
Yeah, what happened?" So if you guys get a chance to check that out, I'm gonna try to link that later. I'll link that, and I will try to also link the Warrior Circle thing because that's incredible, and that also has Roxanne on it, and it was powerful.
We can probably play the theme if you would like.
Sure. I mean, yeah, you can if you want to.
Well, I mean, you don't have to do it right now. It's just
okay.
Offering it up if you need a break.
Yeah, there is a theme that was put together, and it's at the beginning of the Warrior Circle video. So I will share those with you guys, and if Tony, if you want to bring it up, if you have it available, we can definitely play that. It's
He
the
wouldn't
beginning.
say he does and then not have it ready.
Right. He's ready.
That wouldn't be a Tony,
That
would
would
it?
not be a Tony thing.
Take your name and turn it into a verb here.
But for those of you that are listening, right now, you can overcome no matter what it is that you're going through. I mean, everybody faces something completely different, but I hope that you are inspired and that you are able to continue to keep moving forward and maybe going around and finding the new path that you're supposed to be on. Sometimes we get so caught up in the idea of where we were wanting to go that it completely puts us off course of where we're supposed to go. Did you find that? Okay, he's ready for it. And he'll hopefully put up the Survivor Girl logo, so I'm not staring at
Oh,
you
of course.
guys weirdly.
It's definitely going up. So yeah, here's the intro to the song. So there's that.
Yeah, that was fun. We worked on that here in the studio, and one of my very dear friends, Hope, and I were able to do the little tribal screaming, I guess. I don't know, harmonization. There we go. To do that for the beginning of it, and it was just a lot of fun to work with Tony in the studio with that. But I will put up the video so that you guys can see it. I am going to give the disclaimer that it is a very, very rough, I would say, raw, emotional video. It is a longer video, so I recommend if you have time to be able to sit through it, or you can break it up however you need to watch it. But you know, that's one of the things we try to bring, that raw things that people don't talk much about, because people need to know that there's other people that go through things like these.
Cathartic is the word Roxanne used.
Oh, there you
It's
go.
very cathartic.
It is. I watched it in sections of. I watched this person's story, and then I have to pause because it is longer. I'm not sure, but it's quite long.
Yeah.
And it was hard for me to watch myself.
Mhm.
That was strange.
Yeah.
We talk, but let me tell this whole story, and then I watch myself as I'm telling my story, and I'm like, wow, you've come so far, girl. You've come so far from where you were. It's amazing. I could have never done that 10 years ago. Maybe close to it. There's no way I could have done it and gotten through it without completely breaking down and being at a point where, you know, you have to kind of,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like that at all. And like Tony said, it is exactly, it's just cathartic. There's no other word for it. It's cleansing, it's healing, it's very emotional. If you are somebody who has experienced any kind of trauma and you're looking for the raw emotion of what it's like to be just real and sincere and genuine with your story, this is definitely a video you want to watch. You know, definitely. I think everybody that had participated in it was really surprised at themselves.
Mhm.
Really surprised at themselves at how they just quickly became vulnerable and told all of us, even though we didn't know each other.
Yeah.
There was that camaraderie of you've been through something, I've been through something. What you've been through is no better or worse, but you can relate.
Mhm.
You understand.
I think one of my favorite parts in the whole video is where you and Nicole hug, and that was the first time that you guys met, but you felt so much of her story and the emotion and everything that you were like, Can I just hug you?"
Yeah, I had to ask her because I was really just beaming and overjoyous that someone would tell this story, you know, and I didn't know what she was going to say. I
Right.
had no idea. And Tony's gonna mess it up. But
The behind the scenes fun
I was
stuff.
supposed to see her a couple weekends ago, and I didn't get an opportunity. I need to get with her. But she and I are friends for life.
That's awesome.
Something happened in that moment, in that story, in that video, that her and I just connected on another level. You know, just completely different. And she's amazing.
She is.
She really is. We're all amazing. What can I say? You know, we have stories to tell, and if we're willing to tell them and share them, I think that's great. And hers was really inspiring. I would have never guessed the things that she's lived through by looking at her.
Mm-mm.
You just can't judge.
That's important. You saying that is very important. You know, it takes a couple minutes to make a judgment on somebody, and it takes even longer to recover from making that judgment when you meet somebody and you get to know them and you get to know their story and everything. So I guess one of my big things is you can't tell what's going on underneath. I could smile and I could be extremely happy and positive and everything else, but underneath what's really going on. So I think, you know, especially with all the things that we're facing now, the vulnerability that people are just not showing, you have to have patience, I think, sometimes, because we never know what's going on. And that can be hard.
Don't let that guard down.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Definitely. Many times in the past, you know, I know for myself why I don't like to let my guard down is somebody will use it against me in the future, or they'll criticize, they'll judge. And now I'm at a point where, you know what, I'm not going to hide my feelings. I'm not going to pretend that I am somebody that I'm not. This is me. If I care about you, or if I think that you're being a jerk, I'm going to call you out on it. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I
Mhm.
think that it what matters is the sincerity as a person, as a human. And I just think that, I walked away from that experience with such a different opinion than what I expected. So I learn something every time I come on your show, learn something every time I participate, whether it's this show or maybe another one.
Right, right. There you
We don't
go.
name no
Don't make
names.
this weird.
Yeah,
Make this weird.
right.
And Tony always makes it weird.
He does. He does. Which Tony's been on. He's talked about his story as well, which took a lot of courage. We talked about that beforehand, before we did the show. And what was the thing that you said about career?
I'm pretty much committing career suicide by going on your show and talking about my story.
But what happened though? You had people that reached out.
Oh yeah, it was incredibly humbling. I mean, the fact that right after the show, my inbox just started getting lit up, and I'm going, really? That's holy cow.
Well,
Humbling
and
is a very good word.
and the things that
Yeah.
you've dealt with because
Mhm.
of what kind of not statistic, but what they do with the situation that you've
Yeah.
had to deal with,
Yeah.
and now especially
What?
they're like manhunting for everything.
Oh, of course.
You
And
know.
it's one of those things that, whether or not you're guilty of a crime,
Mhm.
once you have a record, people don't care. You talked about the whole judgment thing of, you hear somebody having a record about something, and it's like, oh, yeah, well, they need to be burned at the stake or string them up or running them out of the pole. And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. The justice system is broken in certain areas, and it's blind.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
It's no longer innocent until proven guilty. It's guilty until proven innocent.
Well,
And
and
then it's your reputation, regardless.
Right.
You are going to have that follow you for.
Yeah.
Talk about a black mark. I mean,
well, and that was one thing too, is that well, we're talking on the subject of your episode, not to bring you just out of the blue here, but
Throw me under the bus,
I had
it's okay.
somebody message me and go, well, do you know about Tony? Do you know? And if you guys get a chance, you can go back
Yeah.
and listen to the episode. And you're working with somebody who has that reputation, and I said, hold on a second though, talk to him.
it was
He
heavy.
will tell you
Right.
his story.
Yeah.
When you and I became friends, you came right out and you told me exactly your
Right.
story and everything.
Well, I believe in accountability, honesty, and integrity. And if
Mhm.
you can't have that when you're working with somebody in a personal relationship, here I am missing the
You're fine.
cue again.
No, you're good.
You can't have that question running around when you're working with somebody professionally, let alone personally. Because I mean, God, we've been friends for what, 6 years now?
Yep.
And coming straight out of the gate, I'm like, I'm gonna level with you. This is what I deal with on a daily.
Right. And
And
I've
it-
seen it firsthand.
Right.
I've seen the way that you are treated, and I've seen, at any given time, we could be at some kind of a function, and you could be treated completely differently.
Of
And
course.
especially, now, I see there are legit like scumbags that are
Yeah.
on that list that have
Right.
really legitimate. Yep, can't talk. Thank you.
Legitimately.
Have done.
Yes.
So let's talk as a group here about the things that we face, and how does that affect friendships as an adult now, as of things that you've gone through.
It has destroyed every last relationship I've been in. Period.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's, you have to wonder how much a human being can take, because everybody has their breaking points.
Right.
And it's one of those things that, we're not even going to get into the anxiety ridden traumas of just regular everyday life with me.
Right.
But dealing with that, they're like, you go to jail randomly. It's like, oh, okay. So now I'm stuck with your responsibilities. And it's like, because I signed up for this, when I became an adult, I'm like, okay, give me the hardest life possible.
Right.
Here's the memo. Thank you. And-
That'll make my soul evolve.
Well, right,
Right,
exactly.
right.
I want those character building
Of
days.
course you do.
And that's the thing, is my life is peaches compared to some of the people that you guys keep talking about. Nicole, like, it was really hard for me to sit in the chair listening to Nicole's story and not wanting to just like jump up, run halfway across the studio and give her a hug and go, it's okay.
Yeah. And she handles it with such
she has such grace and elegance when she talks about her story. I mean, holy cow! Like it hit
Transparency that's
right in the
there is
fields.
just amazing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I think that that's a really good question about how does anyone's trauma affect friendships? It affects friendships, relationships. I was speaking earlier that I thought it was something I wanted to touch on. It affects how I parent.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. I mean, my trauma may be different than Tony's, maybe different than yours, but in my particular case, that I have two boys. They are now 19 and 14, and they're amazing young men. I mean, they're just amazing. I couldn't be prouder. But as they were growing up, I was really, really hesitant to allow them to participate in a lot of things that if I wasn't there to make sure that nothing was happening that I didn't want to happen, that was, of course, my main goal. Okay, well, when most people have children, they want to make sure they're happy, healthy, they go to college, they do all these things. Mine was, I don't want my children to ever be abused
Mm-hmm.
because I lived through that. Now, I was not abused by my parents. I was not abused. It wasn't like that. If anything, my dad was my biggest fan, and I was his.
Right.
And I just didn't speak up. So it has really shaped the way that I look at people. I will be friends with just about anybody until they show me that I shouldn't. But it wasn't always like that. I was very, very hesitant into letting people into my life. I didn't let my boys participate in a lot of activities because if I wasn't there, oh, you're not participating in Boy Scouts. Oh, well, you want to participate? You're the second child. Well, now I got to be the den mom so that I can see. I mean, I would just totally be overprotective. I wasn't helicoptery unless it was something like that. But I was also really, really direct with my children.
Mm-hmm.
This is what happened to me without the yucky details.
Right.
This is where this came from. This is why this is like that. And this is never going to happen to you because I'm not going to allow it.
It's interesting you bring that up for the parenting aspect. I mean, I was very vocal with my kids of going, this is how it is. And being a single parent, it's even worse. And I'm not
Right.
splitting hairs here and doing this, that, and the other thing. But it's one of those things that when you're doing it by yourself, the only person that's keeping you company is the one that you're looking in the mirror going, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
I'm losing my mind.
Am I doing this right?
Exactly. And having
Should I have said that? Is
Right.
that too much? Not enough?
right.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
It's just the right amount. Don't doubt yourself.
Well, and it affects them differently
does.
because you're like, okay, so remember how I told you when you're reading your little nursery rhyme book and how the world's all peaches and gravy and cherries?
It's really not.
There is evil
It's a
in the
scary,
world.
scary
And
world.
these are the tools,
It's cloudy with a chance of meatballs.
right, that you're going to need to navigate
For
this.
real. I mean, it really is. It's difficult. I think that it makes intimate relationships very, very challenging.
So challenging.
I can tell you that from a female perspective, and this is just my own individual experience, I don't achieve intimacy, whether that's in a love relationship or a friendship. I find it very difficult to achieve that level of closeness with somebody because I am very, very aware that once I reach that level, that I've really let my guard down.
Mm-hmm.
So I would much rather be the jokester or the physical person in that sort of aspect, and I'm not shy about that.
Yeah.
It's just not something that I was ever comfortable with, and it's becoming more of a comfortable area. But in order to become comfortable, you have to experience it, and sometimes that's really hard for me.
Have you found that has ruined a lot of relationships
Absolutely.
for you?
I haven't had a lot of love relationships. I was married for 18 years and with my ex-husband for 25 years, but I can guarantee you that there are so many aspects that went into the destruction of that relationship that came from this. Absolutely. I was never able to, no matter how much I cared, never really able to get to that level of intimacy where if I felt completely safe. And that's what it's about. And for me, that's what it's about for me. If I feel safe with somebody, that is a completely different level of intimacy.
Absolutely.
It just, and that's from the type of trauma that I experienced.
Yeah.
And it's just because the type of trauma that I experienced was so at times physically abusive.
Of
So,
course.
coming from such a young age, my trauma started when I was 4, didn't end until I was 12. That's 8 long years. That's a long time to learn all these bad things that you want to
Yeah.
do. Like, oh, I'm going to keep you at bay, and I'm going to keep you at bay because if I'm, it's caused a lot of things. I've gone to therapy for years and years and years. Not ashamed of that. It's helped me tremendously. I
Absolutely.
actually had a therapist tell me that my particular case was the worst or the most horrific that she had ever experienced in her career, and that most people, not just women,
Yeah.
but most people who had ever been abused in that fashion either become, and I wasn't at the time identifying as an addict because I wasn't abusing drugs or alcohol, but they either become a prostitute, they kill themselves, they become an addict, they become severely obese in order to keep people at bay. All of these things.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I can gain and lose weight like it's nobody's business. Nobody's business.
Yeah.
I'm happy with where I am. So I got where she's at. The addiction, absolutely. Throw another thing on my plate. Let me see what else I can get through.
And with having kids yourself, you've been upfront and honest about
Oh, absolutely.
all of these things and why. And
They need to know now,
Mhm.
not 10 years from now. They need to see that this is life
Right.
and that their mother is making the best choices that she can with what she has. And if I'm making mistakes, guess what? That's going to happen. And I apologize and I will tell them, forgive me, I love you, but we're all into this together and we're learning. It's just the way it is.
And have they, because of experiencing and with you being upfront, has your relationship
Oh, we're
been
so
stronger?
So close. These boys will tell me things that I'm sure they would not have had I not been so open with them. I try to destigmatize a lot of things in life: sex, drugs, abuse, domestic violence, and not destigmatize it because I think it's okay,
Right.
but because I want them to understand that these are things that happen and they need to be able to discuss them. And they're things that they may have already experienced. And because of me in my life or my
Right.
addiction or their family being now divorced and things of that nature, a lot goes along with that. And it makes them stronger, smarter, and more emotionally intelligent, in my opinion.
Here's the tools to navigate this more
That's
successfully than I did.
And more than my parents gave me because they didn't
Right.
know how.
Exactly.
Absolutely. My father, I believe, knew how, and I will forever be grateful for that man. But, I had a really, really challenging relationship with my mother. She was very, very difficult. I was the youngest child of 9, and she was 42 when I was born. So I'm 42 now. I can't imagine having a baby. I mean, I
Right.
can, but I can't. That's
Right.
just crazy. She was not a very supportive person. She was an amazing grandparent. She just, for me, was not an amazing parent.
Well, when you're number 9, that's just kind of like, figure
Yeah,
it
that
out.
one can raise itself.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know, but she played a huge role in the way that I became a parent. What not to do,
Mhm.
what not to do.
Same.
Yeah, my dad was an amazing person. And he passed away in 2016, and I just, I thought I'd be a crumpled person in the corner when he passed, and I really took it hard.
Mhm.
My drug addiction got really bad after he passed. My boys and my ex seen just how horrible it affected me, but I pulled myself together and I got myself back to where I needed to be in a better position. And I can honestly say that some of that is because I would say to myself, "What would Jerry do?" Or that was my
Aw.
dad. What would Gerald do?
Yeah.
How can I, pick myself up and dust myself off? Because my dad was also an alcoholic for many years, and he dealt with addiction. And he was clean and sober for 34 years before he passed away.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Was
that's
he
awesome.
open and upfront with you about his addictions, or did he kind of
Yes.
keep that? Was he?
He was. He was. Well, he did not know until right before he passed about my experience
Oh,
and my
okay.
trauma.
Oh,
That was
wow.
something I kept from him because I felt like it was important to sort of protect him from that because I loved him so much. I wanted to show him exactly that this is unconditional love. I don't need him to hurt. Whoops, I don't need him to hurt.
Mhm.
And I don't need to tell him this in order to feel any better. Because
Right.
whatever happened, happened. And I adored him regardless, and it wasn't his fault. So it wasn't my fault. That is a huge thing for people to realize. I don't care what the trauma is. It's not your fault. And
Yeah.
it's okay to talk about it.
Yep.
And you're not gross. And other people don't look at you like you're disgusting or that found that interesting or fun or you wanted to participate. It's just not.
Right.
But when you are in that mindset before you know and you start to heal, you think that that's what's going to happen. You're very confused about what the judgments will be. And most of the time, there is no judgment. Most people are very, very understanding. And if they're not, well, that's just something that you have to take and figure out how to deal with that. You got to learn how to cope.
And that's something that's important, and I'm glad that you brought that up because a lot of people will keep it to themselves. They won't talk about it.
Absolutely.
They won't go to the police about it. They won't discuss
Very
it.
hard.
And that is extremely hard. I faced something like that when I was younger, and my mom actually found out from a friend of mine and contacted the police officers, and they came up to the school and
Oh,
talked
wow.
to me about it. I thought I was getting out of class. I thought my mom was coming to get me, whatever.
Right.
And so I was trying to keep it to myself. I didn't want to talk about it. But because she was vigilant about it and the police officers came and talked to me about it, I'm glad that it was found out because that person was, I hope, stopped from doing anything else. And
Right.
that's what happens. We keep it to ourselves. We don't want to be embarrassed because of what happened. We feel gross. We feel,
You want
but
to be reminded.
but what happens when we don't say anything? They go on and think it's okay. A lot of these
Yeah, and I
times.
think that a lot of times what we do then is we give our energy to this person
Mm-hmm.
by hating them or resenting them because they have caused us this great pain and this great trauma. But guess what? They're not giving you a second thought.
Mhm.
They could care less. They're already moving on to the next victim, the next person. So without you speaking up or whomever speaking up, they're going to do exactly what you just said. They're going to continue.
Because
It's
they
a
think it's
cycle
okay.
that never stops until somebody is brave enough to stop it.
Mhm.
And if your mom was so brave, you were the brave one because you're the one who had to say it. It's hard.
I was put on the spot. I mean, and then after being led to the counselor's office and there's police officers there,
That's intimidating.
everybody's seen it.
Oh, and everybody wants to know what's going
Everybody
on.
wants to know what's
Are
going
you
on.
okay?
So that
Yeah.
I'm thankful that she said something because it did need to be addressed, but I didn't know that she knew, and that was another thing. Like you talk about how your dad, you didn't want him to know. Like
Right.
that was my mom. My mom was my hero. And I didn't want her to know. I didn't want
Right.
her to be hurt.
Yes,
And sad
right
thing-
there. You didn't want her to
I
be
didn't
hurt.
want her to be hurt.
Because
I
you
didn't
thought
care.
that she would take it as a personal reflection of her own parenting.
Right.
But
I
and the
know.
thing was too, unfortunately, my mom was home. My mom was
Oh.
outside. She was gardening, and she had no idea what had just happened to me. And I confided in a friend, and they were so close to my mom because my mom was that kind of person that everybody wanted her as their mom.
Yeah.
They told her what happened, and it kind of went from there. But I wanted to talk about that because you had mentioned it as well, is that we need to talk about these things.
Absolutely.
We need to be able to talk to people, but I think a lot of times too, when you're growing up and you're a teenager, you're afraid because there are a lot of people that do falsely say these things.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I'm sure.
you don't
I've
want
seen
that to
it.
happen either, but
I've
you
seen
want
it.
people that have legitly done these things to not do it to
Be
somebody
held
else.
accountable.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah, you brought up going to the police. I didn't go to the police until my mother passed because I didn't want it to be a huge family issue. And like I said, she was not exactly the most supportive person when it came to this particular situation. She would like to, more than anything, just sweep it under the rug
Mhm.
because it's a dysfunctional thing that happens in families. Well. So once I did finally go to the police, it was extremely difficult to tell them my story. What was even harder was to find out, guess what? The statute of limitations has run out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to go within a certain amount of time of turning 18, and I was in my 30s.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. I really would love to, if in my spare time, hop on some sort of bandwagon or make one
Mm-hmm.
to change the law in the state of Michigan, because not every state in the United States has that same law.
Yep.
There are some states that have just like murder. There is no statute of limitations, and Michigan has changed. By I think it was 2009, they enacted a law that said if you you had so much time. Now, prior to that, you had to come forward by a certain date. Well, it's still very confusing for survivors.
Yeah.
It's, especially when, guess what? When I was 18 and 5 years later, I was in my 20s. You know what I was doing? I was drinking it away.
Mm-hmm.
I was partying it up. I was
Pushing
having a
it.
great old time.
Yep.
Pushing it down.
I was pushing it down, and I was finding other ways to fill myself in those voids. And that just was like, rah, rah. So by the time I became a parent and I had a career and decided that, you know what, there's a lot of things about me that need to change. And the only way they're going to change is if I take a hold of this entire situation and do something about it. It was very disappointing to find out that there was nothing that could be done. I think the state trooper, who was absolutely amazing, and you'll never hear me say that about police. Not a fan. But this guy was amazing. He took it harder than I did.
Yeah.
He was really like, I worked on this for 6 months, and he was great though. He let me watch the confession, and he's like, I made him cry like I don't know.
Right.
So it was great. I mean, but to walk away from that, I was still devastated.
Yeah.
I was really, really disappointed. But now I think to myself, it's okay. I have accepted it. And I think that is a huge part of something that I did want to touch on is acceptance. Because I couldn't accept a lot of things in the past. Even if I worked through them, I couldn't accept it. And now I'm at a point where it takes me minutes to accept something. I've literally just practiced to the point where you can only have so much crap happen. And you're just like, what do I do with all this?
You try to practice the methodologies of don't give someone real estate in your head that's not giving you real estate for 3 seconds.
Thank you.
So
The waste of energy that I spent. I spun my wheels for years, Tony.
Yeah.
For years. Oh, I hate this person. How could they do this to me?
So much time
But
we
you know
waste.
what? I get it. I know why they did what they did. It's all about power and control. And I think that might be a little bit why I was always looking for the power and control, trying to be the controlling person.
to take it back, to bring it back, to go, okay, I'm in control now.
Constantly, in every friendship, relationship, anything. I don't care if I'm in the grocery store and I've got 10 items and you've got 15. I'm going to tell you, you know what? I mean, it's just anything that I can have control over my own life and sometimes other people's. Because you would be surprised at how you play those sick and twisted traumas out as an adult.
Oh God, yes.
I mean, you really
but that's
would
growing
be.
too, yeah. Part
It's
of
very
growing.
strange when you realize it. And you're like, wow, I know where that came from. We got to deal with that now. Let me put that on my list of things to fix.
And the really murky water area is when you don't even know you're doing it until someone points it out to you. And you're
But
like,
when you find out you're doing it, you have to deal with it.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
you said earlier, owning up
Nobody
to it
wants to
now.
do
Right,
that.
yeah.
I think I had a therapist. About the first 5 times that I went to, and she was wonderful. She was one of the best therapists I had ever went to. I used to throw up in her trash can because
you were
we would
that worked
talk
up.
about the details,
Oh, yeah.
and she'd say, Roxanne, you have to tell them to somebody someday. And I'd say to her, no, I don't. Nobody needs to hear this. Nobody wants to know that.
Right.
She's like, I'm somebody who's going to understand, this is all just going to erupt one day.
Yeah.
She's right. I had erupted and fell out many a times, and I had tried to contain it, and it was very difficult. But after meeting with her and going through the process of, nobody wants to talk. I don't care what kind of trauma you've been through. I don't care if it's domestic violence. I don't care if you've seen, gun violence. I don't care if it's sexual abuse, what it is. You don't want to relive it, but guess what? You relive it in your own mind over and over and over.
Every day.
Absolutely. So by me reliving it with this other person and saying out loud, this is what it is, I was letting it go.
Yeah.
I was letting it go. And it took me a really long time. But I'm very grateful for her. Very grateful for the fact that I found her because she shed more light on that than I could have ever gained in the 20 years that I was going to therapy. And it really, it kind of pissed me off at first, if I'm being honest. She made me mad because I was like, you're crazy. I'm not acting this out. I'm not reliving this. I'm not trying to, oh, yes, I was. That's exactly what I was doing. I was, I was doing all sorts of, just really, really scandalous things and shady and who me? No. But seriously, she did an amazing job in enlightening me that the reason I was doing that was to basically what Tony was saying. I'm trying to control it. I'm trying to regain the control that I didn't have. Because what kind of control do you have at 4?
You don't. And that's the sad
Right.
part about that is, you have to help find that voice for those who are unfortunately taken advantage of. And, when heck, growing up, I didn't know any of this stuff was a thing because you're a
Right.
kid, you're in the
had no
sandbox,
idea.
putting the sand in your socks and in your underwear and going to house and tramp socks.
As long as you didn't eat it, you're good.
Right.
I ate paste, so I was good.
Yeah, I didn't say the pace. I said the sand.
Right.
But that's the thing, though. You're a kid. That's not, that's not in your peripherals. That's
Sure.
not in anything.
Innocence. You're
Right.
still innocent.
Right. You're like, I'm going to be an ice cream truck driver to the International Space Station.
Right.
What? Okay, kid.
Innocence. Yeah.
See, I never felt that way. I never really felt innocent. I don't think that my entire time, that's never a word that I would ever use to describe myself in any way, shape, or form. Just because I feel like I never had it. And maybe I did, but I was not old enough to experience what that felt like.
Yeah.
So once that innocence was taken, I
Mhm.
felt like I needed to grow up really, really quickly.
Yeah.
And it didn't take long for me to catch up. This is the way it is.
Watch this.
Right. Let me, and for many years I had a very, very foul attitude towards men.
Why wouldn't you?
I don't know. And always, that there was some sort of hidden agenda behind every hello, every handshake, every do you want to be my friend. It's taken me a really long time to get to a point where I'm like, yeah, this is just me. This is how I'm perceiving them, regardless of what they need. And even if that is their intention, I got this. I can totally handle it.
Right.
I'll tongue lash them, whatever. But that used to be also something I did to people was I would just tongue lash people. It was easy to be very angry all the time.
Well, I can imagine.
Tony doesn't know how to tongue lash somebody, yell at him, right? You got to yell at Nate.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so messing
I
with
can-
Nate.
I can imagine though, going through what you've gone through to be in that, to be like that, to push people
Yeah,
away, to
definitely
do
defense.
everything you possibly can to protect yourself.
Yeah, to be the biggest
To
bitch
not
possible.
Have
Absolutely.
that happen.
Yeah, because then you
Somebody don't
can't
want
be
to be your
vulnerable.
friend.
Well, you can't be vulnerable. They can't hurt you if you're
Very
hurting them
good,
first.
Tony.
So what?
Even seen through my baloney.
So what?
Yeah,
can
birds of a
you-
feather here. Come on now.
What can you give somebody that is listening today as something to end the show with? Advice, something to continue to move forward, or
You're worth it. You deserve it. And whatever your idea is of who you are or where you would have been, that doesn't matter. It's where you are now. Plant your feet. Do what's best for you. Think logically. Don't act on emotion. Do what you got to do to get where you need to be.
awesome.
You deserve it.
Very, very glad to have you back on the
Thanks
show.
for having me.
Thank you for catching up with us here on Survivor Girl. I'm so
You need to
excited.
come back more.
Thank you. Thank you for chiming in, Tony, and talking as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Want to give a couple of shout outs before we end the show here. Shout out to Mary's Handmade Creations. She's been bringing me along on the journey for the jewelry, helping me to believe in myself with that stuff. Everybody who else has been kind of uplifting. I love you guys. Thank you so much for the support and everything. It's been incredible. Also, shout out to Dawn, my executive assistant here on Survivor Girl Podcast. Just want to give some love out to her and everybody else who is going through the motions and thriving and surviving. Everybody who tunes in and listens, thank you guys so much for the support. SolidStateRadio.net. We love you guys. We appreciate you re-airing everything that we're doing over here in our studio. And I hope that you guys will tune in. I don't know if This Is My Brain will be going on this Sunday. Or no, it was yesterday. They were supposed to tune in, but they're all up doing their thing, getting the nature therapy, if you will. But yes, continue to tune in. If you haven't liked or subscribed yet, you can find more content like this. In the future, we will be having more guests on now that the studio is back up and running. If you're interested in joining me on Survivor Girl, you have a story that you want to share, please inbox me. Let's talk. Let's get you filled in here, get you on the show so that we can help spread, uplift, and inspire others out there that are either going through the same thing or something else that they are facing, that they need that inspiration to help get up from where they are at. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. And remember, life is best lived.